Welcome again to South Central Church of Christ Sunday Worship. The building we meet in at 3415 Frankston Highway in Tyler, Texas may be closed, but the church is still open. Hasn't been closed since the Lord established it. We are the church. And whether you are viewing today from Tyler or beyond, please know that we are glad and honored that you are watching. Today at 11:30 a.m., our iCare units will meet by way of Zoom. We are asking every individual and household of the church to join us. This has always been the main ministry of connection at South Central, and it is even more true during this COVID-19 pandemic. We may not be meeting physically together at our house of worship, but we are still coming together with the help of technology. Please call your iCare unit leaders if you are new to Zoom, and they will help you get connected. Virtual Bible class has gotten off to a good start, and you need to be a part. The class is taught and led by our pastor, Brother Baldry, and it's entitled Their Problems and Ours, a study of Bible men and women as they face difficulties and how they continue to trust in God. This is an excellent course for the child of God today as we navigate the present challenges. Join us on Zoom for BBC on Wednesdays at 6:30. There is teachings and interactions with one another, and besides, it's another chance for us to see one another. Go to our website, sctyler.com, to register, giving your name and email address. A link will then be sent to you with a meeting ID number for you to come into the virtual class. We want you to get in the habit of going to sctyler.com on a regular basis. We are so thankful to Deacon Prentice Butler for the hard work he puts into it. However, it will only work successfully as if we as South Central members utilize it. Go to the site, learn it, navigate it, and see what it has to offer and what the possibilities are for us to stay connected with one another and with God. It is still in the early stages, so be looking for new additions and features as the weeks go by. You can also stay in touch by going to our group page on Facebook called SC Family Matters. Members are able to post and communicate as well as inform and encourage. Several are doing that, and we want all members to be a part of Family Matters. Of course, we now have a YouTube channel, South Central Church of Christ, Tyler, Texas. Please find it in your YouTube search section and subscribe to it. Tell your family and friends about it and ask them to subscribe as well. You can also help us to push our Facebook page by the same name, South Central Church of Christ, Tyler. We currently have over 1,700 likes and followers, and we are always happy to welcome more. Feel free to invite your own Facebook friends to like our page. We want to reach people by the thousands, and you can help us. Communion pickup and contribution drop-off takes place every Saturday from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. Come by our church location on the south side of the main building. Someone will be there to distribute your personal Lord's Supper cups, as well as to receive your offerings inside of a lockbox. Oh, and if you have announcements, please email them to scadmin@sctyler.com. And of course, if you are a member of South Central, you can always post on our Facebook group, SC Family Matters. If you have a prayer request, you can enter it into the comments at any time during this live service. Staff will collect the requests, and they will be placed on the South Central Prayer Board located on our SC Family Matters group on Facebook. Let's consult the prayer board throughout the week. And more importantly, let's lift these family members and friends up in prayer. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your love and support of South Central Church. This is Sister Deandra Connor Miller, South Central Information Director. Let's have church. Let's consult the prayer board throughout the week. And more importantly, let's lift these family members and friends up.
Matthew chapter 27. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, brought against the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? See thou to that. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself. And the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, It is not lawful for it to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, They took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord appointed me. And Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, Art thou the King of the Jews? And Jesus said unto him, Thou sayest. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, Hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at that feast the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent unto him, saying, Have thou nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Jesus. The governor answered and said unto them, Whether of thy twine will ye that I release unto you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate said unto them, What shall I do with Jesus, which called the Christ? They all said unto him, Let him be crucified. And the governor said, Why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out with more, saying, Let him be crucified. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hand before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See ye to it. Then answered all the people and said, His blood be on us and on our children. Then released he Barabbas unto them. And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall, and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him, and put on him a scarlet robe.
Well, good morning. I'd like to welcome you again to South Central Live, the worship service of the South Central Church of Christ in Tyler, Texas. In terms of announcements for our church family, today is the second Sunday of the month, and as always, we have our I Care unit meeting. Our ICU meeting this month will be one big meeting. So at 11:30 this morning, let's come together virtually by way of Zoom. I look forward to seeing so many of you there. Call your fellow members. Let's get them in the groove of Zooming in with us, because this is really a way that South Central communicates and interacts. If you have not registered for virtual Bible class, Wednesday virtual Bible class, held on Wednesday nights at 6:30 p.m., then we encourage you to do so. Now, if you've already registered, there is no need for you to register again. Just use the same invitation that you were sent week by week and come on into the virtual classroom. We're having a good time. We're learning a lot, not just about the Bible, but about technology. I remember that 30 years ago, a man came on television and said, in 30 years, we men and women will be talking with their thumbs. We laughed at them. We all laughed at him. And here we are 30 some odd years later, texting and scrolling. And so I ask you to go to our website and use your fingers or your thumb and scroll down to September 16th in the event tab, and scroll down to the bottom and register for Wednesday virtual Bible class. We look forward to seeing you there. This morning, if you would turn with me or think with me from the book of James chapter 1, I want to read just one verse, and that's verse number 17. James chapter 1 and verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. I simply want to talk and tell you that God endures. God endures. Now, I know I just started this series last week on endurance. It is a series that I hope will encourage us to endure and hold on in this time. But I didn't want to go too far in the series without telling you that we have to put it all in perspective. It is not all about us, but it is also about God. And God endures. I want you to remember that. While you're trying to make it, while you're trying to survive in this era of pandemic, while you are trying to teach your household that you have to hold on, and while you're trying to show an example to your children, I want you to remember that God endures. That alone ought to be enough to help you make it through. That alone ought to be enough to help your sons and your daughters and your grandchildren, and even to witness to the world that nothing that we go through on this earth is going to last. Nothing that you and I encounter is going to survive except God. Now, you need to think about that, because there are obvious things, but I want to remind you that sickness does not endure, but God endures. Sadness does not endure, but God endures. Racism and discrimination does not endure, but God endures. Civil unrest, though it seems ongoing, there will one day be no civil unrest, but there will always be God. Why? Because God is eternal. Because God is omnipresent. Because God has no beginning. Everything that we know of on this earth has an ending. Remember that. Every sentence has a period at the end of it. Every life has a period at the end of it. Everybody, everything, everywhere has a conclusion except for God. Now we live in an ever-changing world. Some analysts predict that the 50 years that existed between 1970 and the year 2030 we are seeing the equivalent of change of the past 500 years. In just 50 years, we have seen more changes in our world than the last 500 years. And we've seen that. We know that to be true. People change, technology changes, governments rise and fall, prices change. You can head to work in the morning, and before you get off of work, gas prices have shot up. You need to understand that change is all around us. Some change is for the better, some change is for the worse. Each of us are changing. as we grow older, our bodies change, our thinking changes, some of our opinions change, our taste for food changes. All things that are involved with earth begin to change at the moment that they get here. Changes are important to every part of our lives. If you don't like change, you're just in a tough situation, because change not only comes, but change is happening right now. Everything changes, but God endures. According to the text we just read, James 1 and 17, there is one and only one who never changes. There is no variableness or shadow of turning with God. Why does God never change? God cannot change for the better, because he is absolutely perfect. And he cannot change for the worse, or he would not be absolutely perfect. He is the same, Hebrews 13 and 8, yesterday, today, and forever. God is unchanging. He's unchanging in his unity, or in his oneness. You see, the unity of God describes the fact that there is only one God. He exists alone. He is the only God, and there are no other deities in the world besides God. Isaiah chapter 45, verses 21 and 22. There is no God else beside me, a just God and a Savior. There is none beside me. Look unto me and be ye saved. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse number 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. There is but one God, and that God endures. God is unchanging because of his eternal existence. Psalms 90 and verse number 2, before the mountains were brought forth, or ever thou hadst formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting. Psalms 102 and verse 24, O my God, take me not away in the midst of my days. Thy years are throughout all generations. Of old hast thou laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the work of thy hands. All of these scriptures and so many more prove to us that God is eternal. What does that mean? It means that God, unlike us, and unlike our current situations, God has no ending, but God also had no beginning. Everything that we know of on this earth had a beginning. The earth, the sea, the animals, even you and I, we had a beginning. Even the angels in heaven had a beginning, but God has no beginning. There was never a time that God did not exist. Our minds nearly short circuit trying to comprehend that fact. As far as we can comprehend is only a second compared to God's eternal past existence. Now, looking into the future, as far as our imagination can take us, all we can do is wander. We can't even touch the surface of God's eternal existence yet to be. There will never be a time when God ceases to be. He is unchanging in his eternal existence. He was always here, and he always will be here. God endures. Logic agrees with the fact that God has always existed. Had he not existed eternally in the past, it would not have been impossible for him to take up existence. There would have been no cause to bring it about. And there can never be an effect without a cause. For anything to exist today, something or somebody would have to be eternal to be the cause of everything that exists. And that somebody is God. God is unchanging in his omnipresence. And you and I need to remember that. We need to commit that not only to our memory, but to every step that we take in life. God's attribute of omnipresence simply means that he is present everywhere at all times. Psalms 139, David asked the question, whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there thy hand shall lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. There is only one God. There is only one God. No other God exists other than the God of the Bible. Any religion that worships another God is a false religion. Any God that claims that he is as great as Jehovah God is a false God. We've got to remember that when we form our worldview concerning the issues that we are facing today, we need to remember that it ain't about Buddha. Buddha ain't blessed you. Only Jehovah God blessed you. You've got to let even your worldview about your personal life take into consideration that though you are changing and though you will move off of the scene, God endures. He is eternal. That's why you don't have to fear for tomorrow. You don't have to worry about waking up in the morning, finding out that God is dead. You don't have to read any obituary column in any newspaper that will announce to the world that God is dead. Why? Because God exists eternally in the past and in the future. He's not limited by time and space. He is the unchanging God. Because he is the unchanging God, that means that you and I can trust in him. Because he is an unchanging God, that means that when it comes down to it, there's no need for you and I to worry about what the world is going through right now, because we serve a God that does not change. We serve a God that does not falter. We serve a God that does not die. We serve a God that cannot be minimized. We serve a God that cannot be ignored. You can ignore him if you think you can, but I've come this morning to tell you that God has a way of getting everybody's attention. If you look at the current events, there are people that did not believe that this COVID virus was a real virus. Just yesterday, we could hear people on national television still calling it a hoax and still calling it fake news. But some of them, God has a way of getting their attention. And when they're lying flat on their back, sick, and doctors have given up on them, there's only one message that they have, and that is believe the facts. Well, I've come this morning to tell you, I want you to remember that whatever you're going through, whatever you're feeling that is negative, whatever the devil has caused you to believe in your heart about trouble, I want you to know that trouble doesn't even get the chance to last always, because God endures. Come on. Come on, lift up your heads. Come on, turn off the television and pray. Come on, stop looking at everything wrong that's going on around us, and there's plenty wrong, but put it in perspective. Everything on this earth is going to go away, but only God endures. Oh, I want to endure with him. I don't want to stay on this earth. I'm not in any hurry to leave right now, but I know that this earth is not our final resting place. I want to live with God eternally, and he's made arrangements where all of us can do just that. How, preacher? Well, you've got to come to Jesus. You've got to come to God through Jesus, God's Son. Jesus told you, I am the way, John 14:6, the truth and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Oh, we'd like to accept you into fellowship with Jesus this morning through you doing the Lord's command by putting him on in the watery grave of baptism. Listen, we still have the water ready. We still have the clothes ready. If you've never accepted Jesus, if you've never been baptized to have your sins washed away and to have your name written in the Lamb's book of life, then this morning we implore you, we plead with you to make that confession that you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and complete it by being baptized. Someone needs prayer. You can enter your prayer request in the comment sections of Facebook Live right now. You can call the church. You can call me. We'll pray with you. We'll pray for you. Whatever your need is, God has the power to supply it. If you're present, watching, and you want to learn more about God, then contact us. Contact us. Our information is on the screen or will be put there momentarily, and we hope to hear from you very, very shortly.